Good morning, and welcome to the 2010 Forum with candidates for the Sioux Falls City Council Southern and Central Districts. We have 7 candidates vying for the different positions this year. I am Amy Scott Stoltz. I am moderator today, and I am representing the League of Women Voters. Today's forum is being held at the Carnegie Town Hall, which is where the Sioux Falls City Council regularly meets. Our forum is sponsored by the League of Women Voters of Sioux Falls, the Sioux Falls Area Chamber of Commerce, and the City of Sioux Falls. We appreciate their partnership and appreciate the participation of all the candidates. Our forum is being broadcast live on March 27th, and if you are watching at this time, you can call in with questions by dialing 367-8080. This number will be appearing on your screen during the program. If you are watching a rebroadcast, this option is not available. Today's forum is being taped for rebroadcast on CityLink Channel 16 and will also be available online at www.siouxfalls.org. We hope you'll encourage your friends and neighbors to view the forum and become informed voters. Voting will take place on April 13th, and you have until March 29th to register to vote if you have not done so already. Our candidates today will have a 1-minute introduction, and as we present each question, you'll have 1 minute to answer those questions. We will also have a 1-minute closing. We have timers up front here who will hold up a sign when you have 30 seconds remaining, as well as when your time is up, and I'll be holding you to those times today. There are no rebuttals. The candidates are sitting in the order they appear on the ballot, and we will use a round-robin format with Teresa on the end here starting the opening comments. Michelle will be the first to respond to the first question, and Jim will be the first to respond to the second question, and so on. We are looking for audience questions. For those of you who are here in person, there are note cards around. And if you have a question, please write it on the note card, and someone will come around to pick it up. If you're watching live, please call 367-8080 with your questions. As we start, we ask you to turn your cell phones off, and if you need to hold a conversation, please do so outside the room so as not to disturb the proceedings. We'll start with our introductions, and Teresa.
Good morning. My name is Teresa Staley, and I'm running in the Central District. I'm running for the council because I care about people. I care about all the people of this city, and I think we need to work for more representation for all of the citizens on the council. Especially during this economic downturn, we need people on the council who are going to make smarter decisions about our tax dollars and who will work for more accountability to the public. We need people who will be creative in utilizing our existing facilities and programs more efficiently. We need to work for more transparency to keep the citizens informed about what's happening here at City Hall. And we need to work to reassess our priorities and put the infrastructure at a higher level of priorities, especially taking care of our streets. In essence, I'm about better customer service, caring for people, and common sense.
Thank you. Michelle.
Thank you again for inviting us to be with you this morning. My name is Michelle Erkenbach. I'm a candidate in the Central District. This run for City Council for me really had its seeds planted 10 years ago, literally, when I began the Sioux Falls Community Gardens here in town. I was certified as a master gardener that year and saw the need for that program. What happened then is it grew into 8 sites across the city, and what I learned from that program is that the people of Sioux Falls really do want to work together to make our community a better place. It also led to my service for the last 5 years as a volunteer member of the Parks and Rec Board here in Sioux Falls. So I am the only city council candidate that has hands-on experience in the budget process, including the CIP process. It also, I am the only council candidate in the Central District that has hands-on experience with creating a public positive program for our community. I do have a website, michelleerkenbachforcouncil.org or .com, and I blog on Facebook. Thank you.
Jim.
My name is Jim Milne. I'm running for City Council Central District. I'm running because I want to represent all the citizens of Sioux Falls. I will do that by going door to door, answering phone calls, any way you want to get hold of me. I want to listen to you and your concerns and fix them. I want to keep spending down. In talking with people, I've noticed property taxes are an issue for many. and I will let that reflect in my term as city council. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Michael?
Hi, my name is Michael, or Mike Hemmer, and I was born and raised in Sioux Falls. I left Sioux Falls and moved to Brookings to attend South Dakota State University, where I studied horticulture and biology. I then returned to Sioux Falls. I had the opportunity to open a business with my brother here in town, Hemmer Brothers Burgers and Fries, and I currently reside in Sioux Falls. The reason I'm running for city council is I think it's important to have somebody that's had a long history in Sioux Falls, that's seen where the city has been and knows where the city needs to go. And having a restaurant, I like to tell people that I'm in the business of communication. I greet everybody that comes in my door, ask them how their day is, listen to their concerns for the day, and I'd like to be able to relay those concerns from my district onto the city council and onto the mayor. Thank you.
Thank you. Ryan?
My name is Ryan White. I'm running for the Southeast District of City Council. Real quick, I'd like to thank the League of Women Voters, the Chamber, and the city for sponsoring the venue this morning. I'm originally from Sioux Falls. My wife and I both graduated from the last class of Washington High School in 1992. We both attended and graduated from the University of Nebraska, and we moved to the Twin Cities shortly thereafter. While I was in Minneapolis, I completed my MBA from the University of St. Thomas and was employed with a legal publisher in international and domestic marketing. We have 2 kids, Davis, who will be 9, Sydney, who will be 7, and we moved back in 2002. And since that time, I've been in financial services, and I'm currently a financial advisor with Waddell & Reed. 2 issues that were important then, they're important now today, and they'll be important in the future are economic development and job creation. I think that those are 2 issues that require the support and attention of our city's leaders. Again, my name is Ryan White. I'm running for the Southeast District of City Council, and on April 13th, I'd appreciate your vote and support. Thanks.
Thank you. Bob?
Bob Christensen, Southeast District. I've been an active member in Alride Shrine, the Masons, Chamber of Commerce, Optimist Club, Elks Moose, and First Lutheran Church. I've coached youth softball and youth basketball. I bought my first apartment building in 1972. In 1973, I bought my barbershop. In my profession, I'm able to talk to many people on a one-to-one basis. And some of the concerns they have are that they want to keep Sioux Falls a clean and safe city. They want to keep the good quality of life we have. They also want a balanced budget, and they want the City Council to be fiscally responsible in making decisions. I believe the City Council should position our city for the future, with the ability, of course, to put on the brakes if necessary. Sioux Falls is a great city to live and raise a family, and my aim is to keep it that way. If elected, I will bring my business background to the City Council. Thank you. Bob Christensen, Southeast District.
Thank you. Sue?
Good morning. I'm Sue Aguilar, and I'm running to represent the Southeast District. Since growing up in the Whittier neighborhood, I've always believed Sioux Falls to be a great place to live and raise a family. I'm running because I believe in giving back to a community that has given so much to me and my family. Whether serving in a leadership role for the United Way, as a past school board member, or helping to organize and lead successful citizen coalitions, after my family, nothing has been more rewarding to me. I've approached each role with the idea of caring for all in our community, and yet doing it with sound fiscal thinking as my guide. I believe that both my educational and professional background as a human resource executive, government bond trader, and director of nonprofit organizations, as well as my extensive community service work, make me qualified to deal with the future of our city. I ask for your support.
Thank you. Now, Michelle, you'll start answering this first question, which is, what have you done to prepare yourself to be a member of the City Council?
Thank you. That's a great question. You know, the learning curve when you come into government is steep, and I knew that and understood that as in the last 5 or 6 years as I've been working with the Parks Board. I've understood how much research goes and is involved in the process of being a council person. I started more than a year ago attending almost every Monday night meeting. I'm here for the informational meetings, I'm here for the committee meetings, and then I'm here for the 7 o'clock normal meeting. And what I have done then is learned about what are the issues that are going to be on the agenda when the new council starts on May 17th, so that I am hitting the ground running, and that my experience with the budgeting process through the Parks Board, my experience with doing the research that is involved with becoming a council member makes me prepared and ready to start when that budget process starts just a month later after that new council is sworn in. So to me, it's about creating relationships, and it's about understanding the issues that are before the council and what will be before the council as we move into the next session in May.
Thank you. Jim?
To prepare for this, I have been talking with some of the counselors currently serving on the council, as well as listening to what all the citizens have to say, whether they be at the council meetings, which I do try to attend, or going door to door.
Thank you. Michael?
The main preparation I've done to become a city councilor is mainly my business experience. I've dealt with budgets at a smaller level in my own business. I know what it's like to have to tighten the purse strings when the economy is slow. And I don't foresee the economy getting better for the next year, and so I think the city budget is going to have to reflect that. I'm prepared to do that. Also, I've prepared for the city council by getting out and talking to citizens, finding their concerns, listening to their concerns. So I'm able to relay those concerns onto the city, onto the rest of the city council members and onto the mayor. So I think through those two things, those have prepared me well to be a city councilor.
Thank you. Ryan?
Thank you. Two of the issues that I alluded to before are job creation and economic development. One thing that I started last year at this time was a group of 25 business owners that get together on a weekly basis to pass referrals. I believe that has kind of helped to prepare me to be on the city council. I also volunteer with the Chamber of Commerce as a diplomat, and I'm currently participating in Leadership Sioux Falls, where we're getting in front of and getting information on a lot of the issues coming up for the city. The other experience that I think would be really beneficial to serving on the city council is serving on the finance council at my local parish. It's an endeavor where we allocate the resources for the parish. It can be controversial, but I've really enjoyed the collaborative decision-making part of that process, and that's what most excites me for an opportunity to serve on the city council.
Thank you. Bob?
It's been an interesting year and a half. I've been going to quite a few of the meetings. I've also watched them on the internet if I was not able to attend them. I've talked to the department heads. I have talked to the city council that is in standing as of this time. But I want to go back to what I said in my opening statement. I've got a barbershop. I meet a lot of people every day, many, many people. And I want to listen to those people and learn what they have to say about what's happening in the city. I want to be able to compromise. I want to be able to listen, but I also want to be able to make the tough decisions that need to be made. Thank you.
Thank you. Sue?
As a past school board member, I have experience of serving in local government, and I have found that at the local government level, the citizens feel very comfortable in contacting their representatives. Over the past 10 months after filing for the position of city council member, I've done my homework. I've attended the majority of the informational committee and city council meetings. I also attended all of the budget hearings. I also believe that the work that I've done in the community over the past years in the areas of working with United Way and working with needs within our community, and also within the arts area. I'm a current member of the South Dakota Symphony Board of Directors, that I can bring all of that experience to the City Council.
Thank you. Teresa?
Well, 4 years ago, I became enmeshed into the city affairs when we started the petition drive for the Drake Springs swimming pool. And since then, I've attended the meetings. I've sat through the CIP hearings in the summertime. And I have concerns about the activity that the city council actually does to get results for the citizens. That's why I'm running. Our charter is really in its infancy, and we're still getting a sense of what the role of the council is. I think there's a lot more authority to be grasped within the council. Remember, the council holds the purse strings to the city, and they also make a policy. When I'm elected, I will be traveling with my fellow council members to Omaha. We'll go to St. Paul, look at how they're working with their charter form of government, so we make sure that we are really working to the best of our ability to get things done for our citizens.
Thank you. Our next question. What are your plans to help the homeless and low-income people in Sioux Falls? We'll start with Jim.
Excellent question there. My plans would be to work with private business owners, businesses, property owners, to find vacant properties that it would be feasible to temporarily house the homeless, to have them not living on the street. Long term, it would just be find a way to get private donations rather than spending city money to remedy this problem.
Thank you. Michael?
I think there's two ways to address the homeless situation in Sioux Falls. I think the first one is helping find jobs, and the second is helping them find housing and affordable housing. Jobs, I think if you go out into the business community, talk to business leaders, I think you can set up mentorship programs for people that are uneducated in those areas, and help them develop not just a job, but help them develop a career. The second is housing. I think if you go into the private sector, talk to local business developers, I think you can do city incentives to help provide more affordable housing, more low-income housing for those folks that don't currently have it. And so I think a combination of helping them get employment, helping them be proud of the job that they have, and helping them turn that into a career, and also providing them with an affordable place to live will go a long ways to helping the homeless situation.
Thank you. Ryan?
Well, I volunteered at the St. Francis House, and I really commend some of the work that Julie Becker is doing there on trying to teach people life skills needed to get off the streets and into a permanent housing situation. I think Michael did allude to one very important component, and that is stable employment. There's historically been low unemployment in Sioux Falls, but the longer somebody can hold on to permanent employment, the better their chances are for stable housing. Affordable housing is obviously an issue, but I think it does come down to life skills. I think that I really support the efforts that are taking place there to create life skills, because ultimately I think if somebody wants to get off the streets, they're going to have to make the decision themselves, and I just want when they make that decision for the support to be there.
Thank you. Bob?
Education, jobs, and housing. I think the education is where you start. Not too many months ago, the county commissioners came and asked the city council to go with them on a project with the housing. They did not do it at that time. I'm sure they'll be revisited in the future. But I think we have to help those through education. And if they get to the point, now it's not knowing the A's and B's and C's, it's getting them to think that maybe they want to do something with their life. And if we can teach them that, maybe then we can get them a job and get them a place to live.
Thank you. Sue?
As a school board member, I served as liaison to the Homeless Coalition. A few weeks ago, I did participate in the Homeless Summit and do plan to participate in the work groups that have been brought forth because of that summit. I was disappointed that the city was not able to contribute to the Housing First project. However, I am encouraged by the collaboration between the city and the county as far as the hiring of a coordinator for the homeless situation, and I would continue to encourage further participation in the city as a city council member.
Thank you. Teresa?
Well, I've always been very dedicated to helping out the underprivileged. I've led several fund drives within the church choir I direct to raise money for the backpack program and for the food pantry. I also support the existing facilities we have within our city, the St. Francis House, Union Gospel Mission. I thought it was great when the Salvation Army was opening their doors to help give people a place to sleep. You know, one thing that I've thought about in our past history, we had what was called a poor farm, where people actually lived there, and I know there is a need for housing for people, but they lived there and they did things to help that place maintain itself. Gardening, going out and maybe having jobs and coming back, having a place to stay. And I would like to look at something like that. I am not in favor of a place where they don't have to give something back to where they're living. I think we all get self-esteem by making something happening and contributing. So there are lots of exciting options out there.
Michelle.
I have to applaud the Minnehaha County for its leadership in the Housing First program. You know, we have to understand a couple of things about homelessness in Sioux Falls and across the United States is that it's very often not about jobs. It's more often about alcoholism. It's more often about mental health issues. And so it's not just saying to someone, you need to get a job and then you'll have a house. What we need to realize is that it is less expensive for us as taxpayers to provide housing and services for those most critically homeless, those most in danger of mental health issues, those types of things. It's cheaper for us as taxpayers. Then remember, too, that as city taxpayers, we are also county taxpayers. And so if we're not willing to work with the county on issues like this, we're going to end up double dipping, that we're going to end up paying more than we really need to. So we need to look at the homeless issue from that standpoint. The second thing for me is that I truly support and wholeheartedly support the Homeless Advisory Board and the work of the Homeless Coalition, and I would be proud to be part of those organizations as we move forward.
Thank you. Our next question is, how will you move forward the future of Sioux Falls in the arts? And we'll start with Michael.
Having a business downtown, you know, I get to see how many people come and participate in the sculpture walk every year, and I admit I benefit from that, having a business downtown. But I think the sculpture walk has been a huge feather in our hat in the arts community. But I think also we need to help support the Washington Pavilion. I think that they do a lot of great things. But I also think that we need to help the pavilion make itself so that it's self-sustainable. But from an arts perspective, I think that those are two things that I really see from the downtown area. Sue mentioned earlier the symphony orchestra, and I think helping promote that and getting them into a facility where they can see some more people is also a good way to help promote the arts in Sioux Falls.
Thank you. Ryan.
I think one of the good ways that the art community can move forward is being an ancillary beneficiary of downtown economic development. I think with Phillips to Falls and development along that corridor, it's going to spur a lot of opportunities for the art community to move forward. The Washington Pavilion has been a great placeholder, I think, for the arts community in the past 10 to 15 to 20 years, but I think that that's the next wave of how the art community can move forward is through economic development in the downtown and Phillips to Falls area.
Thank you. Bob.
The benefit of the arts to the city is unreal. People that come to town for jobs end up going to the pavilion or hopefully to the new event center, whatever the case may be. It is important that we have that kind of a program in Sioux Falls. It's not something that you can just promote once. It's going to be an ongoing situation as far as promoting the arts. It's a quality of life, and I think that's something that, as a city council, as people in the city of Sioux Falls, we have to keep doing that. Thank you.
Thank you. Sue.
The arts community is presently struggling. I know that as being a member of the board of directors of the South Dakota Symphony. But what I am seeing that is a positive is that the arts community is showing more collaboration. Right now, the Washington Pavilion and the Symphony are working together because they benefit each other. So I believe that collaboration between the arts needs to increase, and that I feel that there is a place for city government to assist in that collaboration, because it is the quality of life issue, such as the arts, is what keeps people in Sioux Falls and brings business to Sioux Falls, and so it is an important component of our quality of life.
Thank you. Teresa.
Well, I'm a piano teacher, so I am directly involved with the arts. And one of the things, I guess, as I talk with my fellow colleagues, is that we would like to see the Argus Leader do a little more coverage about the arts. I went to college at Northern, and when there were things going on with Northern, boy, that paper really had a lot of top-notch coverage. So I would ask the paper to step up a little bit more and put that out there. I've been a soloist with the South Dakota Symphony, a vocal soloist on 2 different occasions, so I deeply care about those kinds of things. But I agree with what Mike said. I think we need to make sure that the pavilion is really being utilized to its full capacity. And as I visit with people, there's a segment of maybe people who like country western music or rock and roll, and they feel like they've been shut out from the pavilion. So I would be looking at ways to really maximize our facilities, like I said earlier, and utilize them so we're getting the best value for the tax dollars.
Thank you. Michelle?
Would you repeat the original question for me?
Oh, don't do that.
Sorry, I know you've got a pile. I'm sorry.
It's okay. What will you do for the future of Sioux Falls in the arts?
Because I think I listened to all of these answers, and they're all right. That's exactly right. But the question was, what are you going to do about the future of the arts in Sioux Falls? And so what I wanted to look at is to look back at things like how we're using the pavilion now on First Fridays. Go to the pavilion on a Friday evening, that first Friday of the month, and you tell me about the future of the arts, because the place is packed. It's free First Fridays at the pavilion, and it's an awesome experience. The future of the arts in our community is not only Sculpture Walk and the pavilion and the horse barn and those kinds of things, but it's our children. You know, look at when the flyer comes out in another month or so from the Parks Department, all the arts programming, all the art teaching that the city is doing in terms of crafts classes and bringing children into our facilities so that we are getting the most bang for our buck out of our city facilities. Let's think about how it is that we're setting ourselves up to grow that appreciation for arts in the community. I think we're doing a great job of it, and I support building on that.
Thank you. Our next question is on mass transportation. Oh, I'm sorry. Thank you, Jim. Jim, go ahead.
I would like to promote the arts for the future by giving them the tools they need to succeed. By succeed, I mean to not need any funding from the city, and I would like to have them partner with downtown Sioux Falls businesses and Sioux Falls business in general, just for easier promotion, funding, and more ideas on different projects. The pavilion is also something I would like to see funding itself. It is used. I've been there. It's very nice to have. I like it, but it needs to be self-sustaining as well, and that's what I'd look at in the future.
Thank you again. I apologize. Our next question then is on mass transportation. What is your position on mass transportation, and what will you do to encourage ridership? And also, what do you do with an organization where all the vehicles and property are owned by the city, the employees work for a second company, and are run by a third company, such as the Sioux Falls Area Metro? And we'll start with Ryan.
Well, good question. First, I think to encourage ridership, if that's what the objective is you have to incentivize and you have to publicize to the consuming public on the benefits on taking advantage of public transportation. So that would be the one first thing. If that was an ultimate decision that was made as a city council member, I would get behind and try to publicize. Difficult question when you have different ownership entities involved in the issues that were alluded to before. I think that on an issue like that, I think the first thing to do is listen. That's one that you really have to strategize. You have to listen to everybody's concern, and then try to collaborate and try to find common ground before moving forward on a position on that. I think that if you were to try to step in that situation with a preconceived notion, you could actually do more harm than good by just sitting back and listening.
Thank you. Bob.
As far as the buses and stuff, I find when I'm talking to people that there's a problem of people have to walk quite a ways to get to a bus. It's not convenient. As the city grows, maybe we should think about adding more buses, but not necessarily the big buses. Maybe vans, the smaller units, so that way we can reach the outer areas as the city grows. As far as people working, I know they came in front of the city council, and that's kind of been decided by the city council at this time, but I know they are going to revisit that problem as far as people in competition with the bus rides. Thank you.
Thank you. Sue.
We know that with the economic downturn that our city has seen, that ridership has increased with the bus service. We are fortunate to have both fixed routes and also a paratransit service. There needs to be improvements to both. I think that we need to continue to review our routes. From some of the input that I've received from citizens, there is the problem of the timing as far as the length of time they need to ride a bus in order to get to work. Over the last few months, with the type of snow conditions that we've had at the city council meetings, I've seen citizens with disabilities come forward and say that there is a large problem with the accessibility for those in wheelchairs, and this is just not something that we can take lightly. It needs to be something that is at the forefront. So again, accessibility, expansion of service are all things that need to be looked at.
Thank you. Teresa?
Well, I used to have a great mechanic on Western Avenue, and unfortunately the guy didn't give you rides home. So I have personal experience with taking the bus, and I agree with what has been said already, that it is an accessibility problem, and you have to hop from here to there and wait from here to there. And I see these big buses go by, and I'm thinking to myself, it would make sense to look at some smaller vehicles that would go around our city. I've heard from the people on the west side of the city that they would like to see more coverage, more services over there. So it's about, again, it's about common sense and doing what's going to be best for all of the citizens and doing it effectively with the best value for our tax dollar.
Thank you. Michelle?
Mass transit in Sioux Falls is incredibly expensive. We subsidize that budget, to a huge extent. It's a $7 million budget, and then because some of that money comes from the federal government, our hands are tied by federal regulations. So there are things that keep us from expanding the way that we think that we should, or providing service in the way that might be more comfortable. But that being said, I hear the same complaints that the other folks hear. I hear that it's difficult to figure out how to get where you're going. It takes longer than it should. You have to jump different buses, those kinds of things. And there is perhaps a customer service issue in terms of how is it that we deal with those folks that need those rides. But the thing that we then need to think about is, we can talk about let's stop at every corner, let's expand the routes, but let's talk about that cost, and let's think about that balance, and how are we going to make that an effective, customer-friendly process and still maintain the kind of budget that we have for it.
Thank you. Jim?
I would, with all the different hands involved in running the bus system, I would like to see it concentrated into one group so that any concerns are easier to address. I would like the city to be out of that business completely. I want it fully privatized so that it will be more flexible and responsive to the riders' concerns and needs, as well as reduce any burdens to the city as far as tax dollars go. They can be spent better elsewhere. I would, but as it stands, though, I would like to also see a review of the routes to ensure that they are being as efficient as possible and that we can maximize the use of the public transit, and even something such as express routes to common destinations that go across town with maybe one or two stops on the east or west side and then straight through over to the other side of town.
Thank you. Michael?
I think the issue of mass transportation really boils down to efficiency. And I think the two ways that we can be more efficient is through reviewing route stops, number one, seeing if there's a more efficient way to do route stops, if there's some that aren't being utilized, perhaps cutting those out, if there's some that aren't getting the amount of attention that they should, increasing the number of stops at those. And I think the second thing that needs to be addressed is wait times at those different locations. I think that's number one concern for people that are using the mass transportation system, is how long they have to wait initially at stops and then in between stops as well. And I think there's some different ways that we can do that. I know the city's been creative, even as far as the trolley, but I think if we look at different forms of transportation that can utilize better fuel efficiency, that's one way that we can do it and keep the cost dollar down.
Thank you. Our next question, what property or business holdings do you have besides your residence, and what is your day job? And we will start with Bob.
My day job, I cut hair for a living. I have a barber shop. As far as my other property ownings, I own a 24-plex in Sioux Falls. I've been in the rental business since 1972, apartment rental business. I do have a small condo on Okoboji, and I've just lost my mother and my dad, so I do have a small portion of a farm in Minnesota. Thank you.
Thank you. Sue.
The only property that my husband and I own are our primary residence here in Sioux Falls. I am a community volunteer. I am on innumerable boards. I won't bore you with all of them, but you could go to www.Sue Aguilar for Sioux Falls and see what my community involvement is. Thank you.
Thank you. Teresa.
Well, I own my home and my car, and that's about it. And I am a voice teacher at USF. I've been there for 6 years. I teach private piano. I've been a teacher for 23 years doing that, self-employed. I'm the choir director at St. Teresa's Church. I've been doing that for 10 years, and before that I spent about 12 years directing the choir at Holy Spirit Church. I'm a piano judge, an educator for the Piano Guild. I go to different states, different communities in South Dakota and judge piano students. And so I have a nice experience working with adults, teachers, and with students. And I'm also a gardening instructor with the Sioux Falls School District. This will be my 11th year of teaching people, helping people to expand their knowledge and getting them excited about growing things and helping our environment.
Thank you. Michelle.
Well, I don't really own anything. My husband and I are making mortgage payments on the house at 1004 East 35th Street in Sioux Falls. It's our third home here in Sioux Falls in the Central District. I work then, my day job is with the Good Samaritan Society. I'm a communications coordinator there, and I always have to kind of say it's a fabulous place to work. It's one of those best-kept secrets in Sioux Falls. The national headquarters for the largest nonprofit provider of senior care and services in the country is here in Sioux Falls. We have 23,000 employees across the country, and if you're interested in learning more about Good Sam, it's good-sam.com online, but it's a fascinating place, wonderful, empowering place to work, and I really enjoy it. Again, when I'm working there, I do a lot of things with communications. I write newsletters, produce newsletters, write copy for websites, and work with folks all around the country. I actually have 24 contacts between Florida and Idaho and all kinds of places, and so I spend a lot of time in communication with folks during the day, and so it's a great place.
Thank you. Jim.
Currently, I'm not a property owner. My wife and I own our vehicles, and that's about it. As far as day job goes, I have previously been doing construction and driving truck. Currently, I am pursuing an associate's degree in civil engineering technology. I am also the treasurer for the student organization.
Thank you. Michael.
Besides my primary resident, I don't own any property. The restaurant that I am co-owner of, we rent our space. And that's my primary day job is the restaurant business. I do that currently with two of my brothers and my mother, so it is indeed a family business. And I've been in the restaurant business total for probably about 17 years. And I also work part-time for FedEx Express every morning. So I get up at 3 o'clock in the morning, go to FedEx Express, work out at the airport from 4 o'clock in the morning till 7 o'clock in the morning, moving packages. That's what I do. And I do that for health insurance. That's the main reason that I'm there is for the health insurance. So like a lot of people in the community, I can relate to people in the community where you have a second job for health insurance and for people that have to make ends meet that way. So that's what I do, and that's the property that I don't own.
Thank you. Ryan.
So I guess the property that I include that's not part of my wife and I's primary residence would be our investment portfolio, which is very small. But it's for retirement, and we also have our kids' 529s plan. So that would be the only significant asset outside of our primary residence. My day-to-day job, I'm a financial advisor, and so I help people with their investment portfolio and construct that. the most important thing and what I enjoy the most about my day job is I help couples and families allocate their resources. And so I think that that's also a skill that has place here in City Council as we're helping the city allocate its resources.
Thank you. Now we will move on to the inevitable event center question. The question is, do you support an event center? And if so, how should we pay for one and where should it be located? And we will start with Sue.
I support the event center and the report of the event center task force. No matter what the funding mechanism is, however, I believe that it needs to go to a vote before the public. I do support the local control concept that went before the South Dakota legislature. However, I do think that there has to be a mechanism that it would not have a negative impact on those in our community that are more economically vulnerable than the rest of the population. I don't know what that would be, but I think that there are enough good minds within our community that something could be found. I also think that we cannot forget the $52 million economic impact. I see it as more than a venue for concerts and sporting events, but an economic engine for our community. I also believe that the plan will continue to evolve.
Thank you. Teresa.
Well, I agree with Sue. Public vote is the number one priority here. When this issue surfaced 2 years ago, we were talking about maybe $80 million being spent, and there was a private donor involved. That just disappeared. That disappeared. And I think we need to get back out there. As I'm talking to people, it's going to be very important to have some private money involved. And I say, hey, let's get some of these lists from the mayoral candidates, people who've given money to them, and use that as a starting point. We got the addresses and everything. Anybody can go online and find that out. There is money out there to be had, and we've got to get the private sector involved with this to sell it to the public. It's about common sense. I understand, as I talk to people, they think we need to do something about the arena. I'm on board with that. But the proposal that was out there, I just don't think the public was going to buy into that. And I was opposed to that third penny being used to pay for this. It's a regressive tax. We've got to find a different way to fund it.
Thank you. Michelle.
I do support the idea of an event center here in Sioux Falls, and I applaud those 3 different task forces that really did show a cross-section of the community over the last more than a decade that we've been talking about an event center here in Sioux Falls. 3 things for me about an event center at this point. We really need strong leadership from both the mayor and the council in supporting in supporting education, in supporting pulling a plan together that is comfortable for all citizens. I really want to be about that idea of community buy-in. Let's look at coming to a consensus. In order to come about change in any way, you have to deal with some. There has to be disagreement. We have to get together and talk about this. I would advocate with the mayor and with the council doing some real town hall meetings. Let's listen to those folks. Let's hear all of their voices. The second point for me then is that we do need to be creative about that financing. We do need to add a private component a little bit larger into the construction side of it. The third thing for me is absolutely it has to come to a local vote.
Thank you. Jim.
I do not support the event center as it currently stands. The city is not in the business of entertaining people. They are not very good at this. The private industry, however, is excellent. If this was a privately funded and managed project, they would be more motivated to promote this to any groups that would want to come here. They would do it in a financially responsible manner, and they would be very responsive to the public's needs and demands.
Thank you. Michael.
I do support the event center and the way that it was proposed by the task force. And I like to use a little analogy as to why. If I was to hold a Super Bowl party and had food for everybody, drinks for everybody, but I only had a 23-inch television that was 20 years old, whereas my brother has the same food, same drinks, but he has the big 60-inch plasma TV, whose Super Bowl party are you going to go to? And that's the way it is with the event center. People are going to go to Fargo. People are going to go to Des Moines. People are going to continue to go to Omaha instead of coming to Sioux Falls. And so we're going to lose out on that money coming into the Sioux Falls budget. As far as funding, I would like to see both private and corporate, private donations and corporate sponsorship. And I think we can get to between the 30 and 40% level realistically through those means. And then I think the third penny sales tax, if that's readdressed, only having to raise 60 to 70% of the funds that way is a lot more palatable to the people of Sioux Falls.
Thank you. Ryan?
Well, I support the Event Center Task Force, and I really commend the efforts of the people who served in that endeavor. I also support the third penny sales tax. I think that there was a lot of time and effort invested to come to that conclusion, and so even though we took a step back here on the third penny sales tax, I don't think that it's time to panic. I think that that was a strategic decision that was made, and so I would like to see them go at the third penny sales tax again. We'll have a new administration in the governor's office. The reason I like the third penny sales tax is because it's a short-term debt. It's a short-term arrangement. The payoff is over a 4-year period. I don't necessarily want to see a lot of long-term debt added to our mix right now. I think that that's going to be on the backs of a lot of younger families. And I do think that the Event Center Task Center is something that we need to invest in. And I often think that the best investments are made at the bottom of the business cycle. So I think we have a unique window of opportunity to move forward on the Event Center.
Thank you. Bob?
I was on the task force. As you can see, we had an agreement, and I agree. We do need an event center in Sioux Falls, and I think we need to put it where it was decided by the task force. If you go down to Sioux City, when they have an event down there, you'll see 1/4 of the plates down there have a number 1 or a number 44, on their plate. That means 1/4 of the events down there come from Sioux Falls. People are going down there to spend their money. It is a $52 million impact on Sioux Falls. How do we pay for it? We have to be flexible on this. We're going to have to go back to the drawing board. It'd be great if we can get 30 to 40% of the private sector and the corporate people to pay for it. That's something that the task force, I know, is going to get together again, and the new mayor is going to have to be a strong mayor and get us together and try to educate the people on what we need and how to do it. Thank you.
Thank you. Our next question is on relationships. What is the role of city council members in working with different local and state organizations such as county commissioners and state legislators? We will start with Teresa.
Well, of course, you've got to have a very close working relationship, have to be able to reach out, listen. And one of the things I have I do a lot of is reaching out. I call people. If there's an issue that needs to be talked about, I will come to you. Let's discuss this. Communication is so important. And it's also important to keep people informed about what's happening. It's almost like a triangular thing. We've got the city council, we've got the government, and we've got the people. So when I'm elected, I'm going to be about bringing people on board. We're all a part of this. Come on down and come to the table. So communication is the key.
Thank you. Michelle?
One of the cool things I learned about a year ago when I started coming to meetings is that the city council and the Minnehaha County and Lincoln County boards get together and they have breakfast once a month. And then sometimes they get together with the school districts and they do the same thing. And they sit around and talk about how it is that we can best serve our citizens of this entire area. And what that does is it builds relationships among those people. And I've been at the meetings, I've been listening to those conversations, and I'm ready to be part of those teams that are really working to most efficiently spend our tax dollars. Because again, not only are we city taxpayers, but we're school district taxpayers and we're county taxpayers. And so if we can figure out ways as leaders in this community to use those tax dollars that are coming out of the same pocket, use them wisely and efficiently, those relationships pay off in a big way.
Thank you. Jim?
I believe we need to all the individual groups need to make themselves available to each other on as flexible a basis as possible so that we can work towards a common goal of representing the citizens of Sioux Falls in the best possible manner. By that I mean being fiscally responsible and actually doing what the people want, not what we want to do ourselves in a way that we think we might be able to make a little bit of money on the side. What was the other part of the question there? How best to communicate?
What's the role of city council members in dealing with both local and statewide, so county commissioners and state legislators?
Okay. Just working together, being flexible, and talking to each other in an amicable manner. Thank you.
Thank you. Michael?
I think the role needs to be one of communication. First, listening to the people of Sioux Falls, listening to their concerns, listening to their needs, and representing that at a local level. Second, I think it needs to be relaying those needs on to the county level. What does Sioux Falls need from the county? What does the county need from Sioux Falls? Having those lines of communication open. And I think that's key on the state level as well. What does Sioux Falls need from the state level? Is that help with, letting us vote on a third penny sales tax for an event center? Is that the Lewis and Clark Water Project? And so I think communication is the key, and I think it starts with listening to the people in Sioux Falls, finding their needs, and relaying that all the way up to the state level.
Thank you. Ryan?
Well, I agree that listening is one of the very important components of how we can all get along better with our state legislatures and commissioners at the county level. I think collaboration, it's been talked about before here that we're looking, I think, for economies of scale on how we can all maximize our resources to get the best benefit for the constituent groups that we all serve. So absolutely you have to sit down at the table, go to breakfast, go to lunch, go to coffee. And I think the best thing that I would be able to do is listen. I generally like to listen to everybody's point of view and then try to collaborate and bring everybody together on the same issue. So I think that communicate, but part of the success is just showing up. And so I think if city council members just show up and work hand in hand and reach out, and when there's times that you disagree, if you show up again, you can still make a constructive endeavor out of it.
Thank you. Bob?
Communication, there is going to be some disagreement between the groups, but you have to remember all the groups are on the same level. Neither one of the groups is more powerful than the other group when you come to making decisions that matter to the people that voted us in. It's very important that we make compromises. In my business, I listen. Not all the things I hear could I bring to the city council, but most of the things that I hear is their needs and wants. And I think when you get the groups together, the others hear the same thing, and I think we have to try to do what we can to do what the people want. Thank you.
Thank you. Sue?
As a school board member, I participated in the breakfast that Michelle talked about between the city and the counties, and I've been very happy to see that the number of participants as the City of Sioux Falls has grown, that the memberships at those breakfasts have grown and now include Lincoln County and all the school districts that are in the City of Sioux Falls. Also, as a school board member, I had the opportunity, we had a new funding formula for the school district, and I went to Pierre and was part of the discussion with our state legislators as far as what things needed to be changed within the initial legislation that had been proposed or had been passed. I believe that a council member is an advocate for the city, and that as a council member you need to be at the table to communicate with both city and county officials.
Thank you. Our next question is on city planning. What will you do to improve the maligned reputation of the Pettigrew Heights and Central District? And we will start with Michelle.
Thank you. I'm sorry that someone thinks their reputation is maligned in the Pettigrew Heights. That's an amazing story of how the city and the community has come together to make that a better neighborhood. It's been a slow process and it will continue, but at this point, if there are issues there, the police are there quicker into Pettigrew Heights than they are pretty much anywhere in town. It really has become a success story. And so what I'd like to see happen then is let's build on that sort of ripple effect of the things that are happening there. And already the residents of the Cathedral neighborhood are doing the same thing. They're getting excited about how it is that we make our neighborhood a better place to live, how it is that we can improve our property and clean up the neighborhood. And we see it in the Whittier neighborhood as well. You know, those folks have done it really from a grassroots level, and it's amazing to go to their meetings. I'd love to be involved with those folks. And then I'd like to see that, let's, again, ripple it into the Waterford area. What kinds of things can we do to build excitement about the community?
Thank you. Jim?
As mentioned, Pettigrew has improved quite a bit. What I'd like to see happen is that we continue on the path we've been going down, continue to listen to residents to see where we need to improve, and work with local police to ensure that adequate service is being provided there.
Thank you. Michael?
I live in the Pettigrew Heights area, and my parents live in the Pettigrew Heights area. Growing up there, you know, it was a great community to grow up in. And then 10, 15 years ago, you started to see that change a little bit. And I have to give Mayor Munson a lot of credit for the steps that he made in the Pettigrew Heights area. From first, it sounded real simple at first, but eliminating the loop, and that went a long ways towards eliminating a lot of the bad activity in the neighborhood. And then second, increased police presence in the neighborhood. You know, when I'm out working in my yard, working with my flowers, you know, I see a lot of patrols go by the neighborhood, and I think that goes a lot towards people feeling safe in the neighborhood. And then just continuing with the plans for Pettigrew Heights. I know there's already a lot of construction that has been done. There's been a lot of demolition that's been done, and I know that there's plans for more future construction. And so I think just being supportive of those efforts and seeing if we can relay those to other parts of town.
Thank you. Ryan?
From a city planning perspective, I think that investment downtown has a ripple effect that goes into our downtown neighborhoods. When I worked in Minneapolis on Lake Street, you could see the deterioration happening on a month-by-month basis because all the economic development was out in the suburbs. So I commend the Mayor Munson's administration for the investment that they made in the Pettigrew Heights. I think that's something that you can never get complacent with, and it will always demand attention and support. But I think that the main thing that you can do is have a lot of good economic development in the downtown area, which has happened, Phillips to Falls, and that will provide a ripple effect into those surrounding communities.
Thank you. Bob?
The Pettigrew Heights, it has worked, but I have one concern, and that is the people, when they start taking some of these homes, apartments down, what happens to the people who lived in those homes? I'm not sure if the city is the people that should look at that. I think multi-housing should be more involved in that. And the reason being is because those people deal with that situation all the time. And if I got on the city council, that would be the first thing I would do, is make sure that the multi-housing are going to be involved in talking to these people and educating them to what we're trying to do. And hopefully we can get them back into some affordable housing in that area so that we don't move them to another part of town. Thank you.
Thank you. Sue?
I applaud the partnerships that have developed due to the Pettigrew Heights project. We have government, city government involved, we have private businesses involved, and we have seen an increased amount of citizen participation. The citizens themselves are taking a proactive approach. I know that the citizens in the Pettigrew Heights area have met with the Whittier Neighborhood Association, and as Michelle said, there have been really positive things that have gone forward because of the Whittier Association's work in the past years. I think that we need to continue our partnerships in attending the committee meetings of the present council. It is a part of their agenda, and as a city council member, I would be proactive in those discussions.
Thank you. Teresa?
Great point, Bob, about displacing people. That is a concern that we need to be addressing. I'm about creating caring neighborhoods, and that's what the Pettigrew Heights, the Whittier Neighborhood Cathedral, we're about helping people to feel good about where they live. I live in the Bel Air Edition, and 14 years ago I started a neighborhood watch there because we were having some questionable activity happening. So it has been a fantastic program, and when elected to the council, I will do a lot more to promote neighborhood watches. Also, the community development program that gives low-interest loans, sometimes no-interest loans, to people to help them fix up their homes is a fantastic thing, and I'm always trying to encourage people to look into that. It is tax dollars, but I think that it's a great usage of tax dollars. So we need to let that whole movement go into all the different parts of our city. There are many parts that need help.
Thank you. Our next question, what will you do to balance representing your district and the city as a whole? Jim, we'll start with you.
Well, to balance that would just be listening and finding out what the common interests are, and pretty much going from there. Just because we are a district representative doesn't mean we ignore everybody else. The district is our priority, but we have to look at the city as a whole and manage it to the best of our abilities, and while giving everyone what is within our reason to give.
Thank you. Michael.
I think that that's one thing that I realized rather quickly when I've been out campaigning is not only do I represent the people from the Central District, but I represent Sioux Falls as a whole. And so even though a lot of the communication that I've gotten has been from people in the Central District, I think it's important to realize that there's a broad spectrum not only in my district, but I think that represents the city in general. But I think if you talk to the other city councilors and really sit down and get to know the concerns in their districts as well as in your own district, I think that that's really important. I think you have to have those lines of communication open as well. So by talking to not only the other district members but also the at-large members, I think that gives you a good representation of what the entire city needs are, and not only just in your district.
Thank you. Ryan.
Well, growing up in Sioux Falls and living by 18th and Western, walking to Axtell Park every day, both up hills both ways, both times. So, I have a lot of respect for the Central District, and now that I moved back in 2002 and live in the Southeast District, I think what's good for one district is good for the most part all of Sioux Falls. And so, for example, living on the east side, I think that a library was a great necessity on the west side. So there's not too many times that I think that you can really marginalize one district's needs over another when you're allocating resources. And if there are, I would try to minimize that to the smallest effect, because I think that overall everybody needs to be rowing in the same direction when it comes to the vision and where the city is moving forward.
Thank you. Bob.
First of all, if I'm lucky to represent the Southeast District, that would be the district that I would hope everybody knows they can call me at any time. I would have an open ear and listen to their problem. Now, when it comes to the rest of the Sioux Falls, if somebody from another district talks to me, the first thing I would do, and this is what I'm talking about as far as communication, I would talk to that city council person that represents that area. And if that person didn't get the job done, then I would do it. But I think it's very important to represent the area that you voted in. There's 5 districts and 3 at large. And we have one commitment, and that's to the people in our district. Second commitment is to the city.
Thank you. Sue.
You're elected by a district, but after you're elected, you deal with all the issues that come before the city. As a school board member, I found that at the local government level, that citizens are more apt to contact you. And I was always very open to taking their calls and listening to their concerns and then taking action if need be. And as a city council member, I would also do that. As far as balancing my work within the district, I think that there's enough projects and concerns that go on within each district that I would be sure that I would attend all of the meetings as far as road construction, water issues, and the like. And I would be on top of those concerns of my constituents. But again, once you're elected, you represent all of the citizens of Sioux Falls.
Thank you. Teresa.
I agree with Sue on this one. We will represent everyone. These last 4 years, I've had the opportunity to visit with thousands of people throughout our city, from all the different parts of our city. And one of the reasons that I'm running is because I see a growing gap between different segments of our society here. And I think that we need to have somebody on the council who's going to work to bring those people together. And as of my observance with the council is we've had lots of representatives from the southern part of our city. We need more people who are going to stand up for the people in the other sections of our city. So that's what I'm about.
Thank you. Michelle?
Well, the last time I checked, it is the Sioux Falls City Council, and so you are, as voters, electing us to represent the entire community. And so, that being said, I live in the Central District. My kids go to school in the Central District. I work in the Southwest District to do a lot of shopping in the Southwest, as some of you do too. My mom lives in the Northwest District. I have friends in the Northeast District. The point is that we're all going to serve the entire community. And Sue's right in terms of if you sit and watch these meetings, if you're watching them on TV or on the internet, you know that the zoning issues and the planning issues and liquor licenses, all of those things affect all of us very personally because we all are Sioux Falls citizens and we all are concerned about the future of this community. And that being said, I would encourage the Central District folks, every time I meet someone, as I'm going door to door, I hand them a card with my cell phone number on it. Because it is about, as Sue said, that idea of local involvement. We want to be part of our government, and
Thank you.
I'm open for that. Thanks.
Our next question is on recycling. How can Sioux Falls improve the recycling program? Are we as green as we should be as a community? We'll start with Michael.
I don't think you can ever be as green as you can be. I think it has to be an ongoing process. And my experience working at FedEx has given me a lot of perspective into that. Fred Smith, the company founder and CEO nationwide, is a big proponent and a big leader in communities going green. And so I think we can take some some clues and some suggestions from Fred and implement those at the local level. And like I said earlier, I think if you can, even more fuel efficient vehicles for public transportation, talking to the different recycle companies, getting to know them, talking to them, seeing if there's things that we can do in conjunction with them. And so I think it's like I said, it's always an ongoing process, and I don't think you can ever be too green, but I think there has to be some balance there as well.
Thank you. Ryan?
Well, we recycle in the White House. I think that I make probably half a dozen trips each time, from grocery or from cereal boxes to plastics to whatever. And part of that is we're incented. It's easy. We know that it's the right thing to do, and as a result, we put it in the container and leave it out every Monday. So I think that is an initiative that really helps people see the benefit and how easy it is to recycle. The other side is, can we be green? Sure, we could be green like a lot of other communities that are investing a lot in it, but I think it's also like a DVD player. If you got a DVD player 10 years ago, it was probably pretty expensive, but as that industry has progressed, you can get a DVD relatively cheap now. I think that if we're going to invest in green technology, we're going to have to wait till it's an affordable time for Sioux Falls, but in the meantime, I think that we can incentivize and make it convenient for local citizens of Sioux Falls to recycle.
Thank you. Bob?
Recycling, if you own rental property, that is a job. To get those people that rent from you educated to the point where they will recycle. I know that's one of the things we spend quite a bit of time in our apartments is talking to people, and you always have those people that want to fight you on it, but it's an ongoing problem, and I believe all the people that have rental properties keep working on it. The one problem that I have is allude to what Ryan was saying, if you have a TV that's bad or a stereo or something, I have this question asked to me, what do I do with it from the rental properties? And those people sometimes just throw it in the trash, and we have to haul it out and make sure we take it to where it's supposed to go. So I think as a city council person, we've got to make it a little bit easier for people to keep us green. Thank you.
Thank you. Sue?
I was involved in the recycling movement back when it was a volunteer endeavor. I was one of the charter members of the Recycling Coalition of South Dakota. I also was involved with all of the informational and educational meetings that were held within the community. I worked at the Great Plains Zoo when they had the drop-offs back in the early 90s. My kids still allude to my allergies and how I had elephant ears every time I would go work at the zoo at the drop-off. I think that the City of Sioux Falls has come a long way since those days, and I applaud the efforts that have been made. I also would like to see it to go even further, and I think that as we educate more and as technology improves and markets improve, that we will be able to go forward and improve and become more green as a community.
Thank you. Teresa.
Fantastic question. I'm an organic gardener, and I do a lot of composting, and it really troubles me every year when we see people hauling all of our leaf waste out to the landfill. We need to be encouraging people and teaching them how to recycle their yard wastes. And I know in Minneapolis, they have a program where they give compost bins to people. I don't use a compost bin. I just do a pile. Right now in my yard, I have some piles, and I'll tell you what, by the 1st of June, they'll be gone. That's liquid, that's gold that you put back into the soil. Also, I talked with the Public Works Director from Bloomington this year, and they do rain gardens along the curbways, and they use drought-resistant plants. The city helps people design these things, and they catch all the pollutants that the fertilizers or weed killers and things that would go into the sanitary sewer system. So that would be a way to beautify our city and help the water system as well.
Thank you. Michelle.
You know, the reality is that our greenness in Sioux Falls is mandated in part by the length of the life of our landfill. You know, it's only going to take so much garbage, and then we're going to have to build a new one. And the expenses of building a landfill are incredible. And so that being said, the number one thing we have to deal with is education. Bob's got it right on. We have to teach people that this is critical not only to reducing the amount of waste, but it's critical to the future of how we spend our tax dollars in terms of that landfill. So we need to do that education piece. But the other thing that we have to do is that I know that when we went single-stream recycling and my carrier gave us that huge bin, we're now recycling as much as or more than we throw away. And so it's amazing that it happens. But I also know there are carriers in town that are not doing that. And we have really got to enforce the rules that are established now to save the life of that landfill and to save, again, the life of our planet, really. And then I would also commend the city on the number of vehicles that are hybrids that we're starting to buy.
This question is on city planning. Did I forget you again?
Yeah.
I apologize, Jim. Go ahead.
I'd like to promote recycling and, in general, being green by just education, show the benefits, where if we just keep throwing everything in the trash, we have to build another landfill, show the people that if we have to do this, then we're going to have to take away from other programs or raise taxes, whichever they prefer. And that's either something I would like to avoid completely just by recycling. As a city, we need to be a model to the citizens by using fuel-efficient and cost-efficient vehicles and business practices. By that I mean do not go out and buy a $50,000 vehicle because it gets half a mile per gallon more. That's just not an accurate use of citizen money. But if we can do it for cheap, I'm all for it. In general, we just need to educate everybody.
Okay, this is on city planning. Is city planning heading in the right direction regarding growth and development? Is there a point when the city becomes too big? And we will start that with Ryan.
Well, I appreciate getting this question first because it's one of my favorite ones, and so I don't think that Sioux Falls is growing too fast. It's the economic engine for the eastern half of the state. I think that city planning is headed in the right direction. This election is about this. The Event Center Task Force, the Event Center, Phillips to the Falls Downtown Development. I think that as Sioux Falls grows, the expansion is headed in the right direction. I I think that the city planning department has done an excellent job developing Sioux Falls to where it is today.
Thank you. Bob?
Is the city planning doing well? Yes, it is. You look at the east side, southeast area, which we will, hopefully I will represent. I look at the Dolly Farm out there, the mall they're trying to get started out there. You've seen Walmart. You've seen many other businesses go out there. They're looking at Highway 100 to come around to tie that whole thing in with the rest of the city. Fantastic. That's what we need. It develops the city. It develops more jobs through construction, more houses, and it just makes it more convenient for people to get around. Thank you.
Thank you. Sue?
I have found that visitors to our city find and are impressed by how we have progressed as a community. A few years ago, my daughter was married, and we had a number of wedding attendants that were from the Madison, Wisconsin area. And Madison is thought of as a pretty progressive city, but they were very impressed by the way that our city had developed. I am in favor of all the cooperation that is going on with some of our departments looking at regionalization of, say, our sewer. The sewer study that is in progress at this point will bring together the communities and will make some of the development, the infrastructure items more palatable as far as cost. Not only is our city planning looking at growth, but also the revitalization of our core area, and that is very important through, again, the Pettigrew Heights, working with the Whittier neighborhood. It isn't just growth, but it is also the revitalization of the downtown and core area.
Thank you. Teresa?
Well, and I think we need to, it comes back to what I said initially, we need to make sure we're taking care of what we already have. And as we grow outwards, I think we've done a great job at providing for the infrastructure of those areas, but let's make sure the infrastructure of our inner part of our city is well cared for. But I want to talk a little bit about the Greenway project. That's I have the master plans here, and I want to talk about common sense. If you saw the paper last Saturday, a week ago, they had the steps that are going into the river. And Michelle's on the park board, and she was there when they were talking about these steps. And this project, by the way, started out as a $2.5 million project, and now it's mushroomed into a $5 million. But the conversation was, are these steps going to be slippery? Are people going to be falling into the river? And this does not make sense to me. We need people to ask questions and to kind of dig around, and let's make sure we're not wasting our tax dollars as we move forward.
Thank you. Michelle?
The original question was about planning, and are we planning for our future in the right way? And I think that I would applaud the planning department, the planning commission, for the way that they look at the way that how we're going to plan for the city to grow. And if you look at Bob brought up Dolly Farm Village, that is designed as a multi-use development, so that if I live there, I have the potential of working there. I'm going to save gas. It's a more pedestrian friendly. It's a more neighborhood based development, and we're doing more and more of that as we look at how the city is going to grow. And but there's other part of the question was, is the city getting too big? And the answer to that is that that's not necessarily what we can control. What we can control is that growth happens in the way that we want it to, so that we know where those facilities are going to be and where they're going to be needed. We've known all along that West Side Library was going to be needed. We know that the new fire stations are needed, because we knew that that's the direction that the city was going to grow. That's wise planning.
Thank you. Jim?
I think the city's current growth plan and rate are sufficient, but what I see as a larger question is, how big does Sioux Falls want to be? I'm originally from Seattle, and I've lived in various cities and towns of all kinds of sizes, and I've seen what small towns have to offer as well as the mega cities. The small towns are nice because you have more sense of community and belonging. The larger areas are nice because you have everything that you would like in a fairly small radius. But the downside with these large towns is you have increased crime, increased taxes, increased traffic, and I think the people of Sioux Falls really need to stop and think, is that what we want? Sioux Falls is, I think, the perfect size, in that we're large enough to have everything that most people need, but we're small enough that we still have a sense of community and involvement.
Thank you. Michael?
I think Sioux Falls is growing at what I consider to be a manageable rate. Where we continue to progress, but we also have a sense of community and a sense of neighborhood. And I think we need to continue to grow at that manageable rate, but I think we also need to be forward-thinking. And I think the City Council has done a good job at that in recent years by prepaying on the Lewis and Clark Water Project. And I think it's that type of forward-thinking that we need to continue while we're planning our city. Because I know I've had two friends recently that have left Sioux Falls to take other jobs in Minneapolis and Chicago. So is Sioux Falls getting too big? My answer to that is no. And I think by continuing to grow, that's how we continue to bring those businesses and industries into Sioux Falls and help bring more jobs to Sioux Falls and help keep people that are assets to Sioux Falls in Sioux Falls.
Thank you. Before our closing comments here, I would just like to let you know that we appreciate our candidates who are participating in the civic process by running for City Council. And I'd like to remind everyone that the ballot will also contain 3 amendments to the city charter. Amendment A is a change that clarifies that the mayor will determine the appropriate format of the annual budget submission to the City Council, and the council will have the opportunity to ask questions regarding the budget. Amendment B is on the Districting Commission, and it allows for representation from each of the 5 City Council districts. This amendment also clarifies how a vacancy on the Districting Commission would be handled. Amendment C reduces the number of signatures that a person is required to obtain if they're running for City Council in a district position. Sample ballots are available on the website www.siouxfalls.org, where you can review more about the amendment changes. Now we will start with our closing comments, and we will start with Bob.
First of all, I want to thank the League of Women Voters for having this forum. It's been a very interesting session. I am married. Been married for 42 years, have 2 sons and 2 grandsons, all living in Sioux Falls. I understand business, the importance of business in our city. I want to see progress, but I also want to emphasize growth within our means. It is very important to me to maintain a safe city, promote the clean and attractive city that we have. We need to be responsible to our citizens' money so we can operate within a budget. I would be proud to serve on your city council and be able to give back what my family has received. If elected, I will bring my business background to the city council. Bob Christensen, City Council. I'm asking for your vote on April 13th. Thank you.
Thank you. Sue.
My thanks to the League of Women Voters, the Chamber, the Young Professionals Network, and the City Clerk's Office for sponsoring this forum. Sioux Falls is a great place to live and raise a family. That's why my husband Rich and I live here, and why we raised our daughters Jessica and Megan here. I'm running to represent the Southeast District because I believe in the importance of giving back to a community that's given so much to my family. I believe that my educational, professional, and extensive community service work make me qualified to deal with the future of Sioux Falls. This is an important election, and I have the experience of working in local government and can hit the ground running if elected. I've done my homework by attending informational committee, city council meetings, as well as meeting with current and past council members and department personnel since filing my intent to run for the council almost 10 months ago. I would appreciate your vote on April 13th.
Thank you. Teresa.
This is an exciting time in our city. This is a time for new life, new hope, and direction for all the people of our city. These past years, I have been working hard to stand up for the citizens and to bring common sense back to City Hall. When elected, I will continue to work to sort our needs from our wants and to reassess our priorities so that we get the best value for our tax dollar. I will strive to create a government that really cares about its people and that treats all of the citizens with great respect. We will work to provide top-notch customer service to you. When elected, I will continue to reach out and listen to you, do my best to get results for you and to provide for your needs. Common sense will always be my goal. Every vote is going to count on April 13th, and I would appreciate your support.
Thank you. Michelle?
My husband and I have raised our 3 kids in the Central District of Sioux Falls. The places, the neighborhoods, the schools have created a real sense of community for all of us. You know, we chose to live here when we moved here 22 years ago. We chose to live here because we knew it was the right place to raise our family. We appreciated the quality of life here, and we appreciated the affordable opportunities for families here. I'm going to work to maintain that community feel for all of us. You know, that as your city council member, I understand how we all feel about Sioux Falls, and I want to balance those needs that we have for basic services. We all expect to have water come out of the tap when we turn it on. We all expect to have decent streets. We all expect the fire truck to show up in less than 5 minutes if we need them. I appreciate your vote on April 13th. Please learn more at michellerpenbachforcouncil.com. Thanks.
Thank you. Jim?
I'm for small government with minimal intrusion in our personal lives. I'm for low taxes, responsible spending, and a representative government at any level. I will listen to you and make myself available to hear your concerns and your needs so that we can best represent the people of Sioux Falls. As I said earlier, I've lived in various cities across the country. Sioux Falls is the best one I've ever been in. It has a great atmosphere. Everybody is extremely friendly, and I think that it's just the best place, and I want to continue that. Make it better, bring more people. Thank you.
Thank you. Michael?
First off, I'd like to thank all of you for coming out and listening to me today, and I'd like to thank everyone that takes time to watch on CityLink and on the internet as well. I've talked to you today about I'm a business leader in Sioux Falls. I have to make decisions that not only affect my business and my brother's business as well, but that affects my customers and it affects family that works for me. Second, I talked to you a little bit about family and how I do have family that works for me, and so I'm used to having to sit down with people when things aren't always going the best, and having to have a discussion with Mom, asking her to clean up a spill when she really doesn't want to, and still being able to resolve that issue. I've also talked to you today about being a forward thinker, and I am a forward thinker, and I think that that's what Sioux Falls needs. I've also talked to you today about being a listener, and I think that that's one attribute that I bring to the position of City Council. And so by listening to people in my district, I'd like to make sound decisions that represent my district and the best interest of Sioux Falls.
Thank you. And Ryan?
Well, I would like to thank the League of Women Voters, the City, and the Chamber of Commerce for sponsoring today's event. I'd also like to thank Bob and Sue. I have a lot of respect for their candidacies, and it's been a real privilege to be evaluated next to them. As I go door to door, people ask me about the streets, people ask me about the event center, people ask me if I'm a registered Republican or Democrat. Some people, when I tell them I'm a registered Republican, they slowly start to shut the door, and I said, well, now wait just a second. I lost my dad when I was 9 years old, and I grew up on Social Security, so I appreciate a lot of the different things that Democrats stand for. I also go on to say that I think Sioux Falls is a great place. I wouldn't be here if it weren't for some of the opportunity that Sioux Falls provided for me. And I think the leaders of the city over the past 30 years have done a great job. I think that now it's time for a new set of leaders for the next 30 years to get involved and to bring forth their vision of what the next 30 years should be like. Again, my name is Ryan White. I'm running for the Southeast District of the City Council on April 13th. I'd appreciate your vote and support.
Well, thank you. I'd like to thank our audience today for joining us, and for our organizers and volunteers through the League of Women Voters, the Sioux Falls Area Chamber of Commerce, and the City of Sioux Falls. The election is on April 13th, and you will also be voting for the position of mayor, as well as school board, and the 3 amendments to the city charter at that time. Please remember to vote. The forums can be viewed online at www.siouxfalls.org, and they will also be rebroadcast on CityLink Channel 16 starting at 9 a.m. on the following days, on Mondays, March 29th, April 5th, and April 12th, as well as Fridays, April 2nd and April 9th, and Sundays, April 4th and April 11th. Thank you all for coming.